And we're like, oh my God, how are we going to get through this? It's really magic what we've created. And there's so many big plans for it now that we acknowledge that it is a huge business. Had the cost in front of me, I didn't nothing. And I was just like, what the hell am I doing? So we're doing it again. I've just got a shiver up my spine because it actually is not easy, but it's going to be incredible.
Welcome to Bishness As Usual, the podcast about the people behind the careers. I'm your host, Claudia Bish, and each week I'll be diving into real conversations that go beyond the job titles. Expect honest stories, a few business gems along the way, and a reminder that behind every highlight reel, there's a whole lot more story. Now, let's get down to Bishness. Today I'm joined by someone behind the viral platform that has every woman in her late 20s and 30s feeling seen, called out and deeply comforted all at the same time. They launched their very first event in February this year, it sold out instantly, and just a few months later they dropped their own app with 0 investors. They've built an entire movement in under a year, completely independently. We're going to get into how they built something this powerful so fast, what it's really like launching a company with your best friend, and the honest truths about navigating your 30s as women in real time.
I'm Bianca, co-founder of Her Thirties, and this is Bishness As Usual.
Perfect. Okay, let's get down to business.
Let's get down to business.
So first and foremost, for those listening, it would be great to just give an overview of what you're currently doing. Yeah. And then obviously we can get into the background of how that all began.
Okay. Yes. So as I said, I'm co-founder. So I am one half of Her Thirties, which is, we're so multifaceted and we are so pivoting and changing as we go on. But ultimately we are the online platform for women in their 30s that are essentially feeling them pressures from society, expectations, maybe from family, to do all of the conventional things that a woman is pressured to do now she's in this decade. So that might be get married, have children, get a mortgage, or even just have your whole life figured out, because now you've left your 20s and you're meant to be sensible or have it all figured out and know exactly who you are. So that's ultimately what Her 30s is, but there's so much more to it than that as well.
So talk to me about how you started the whole movement, I suppose.
Yeah.
I've obviously done a little bit of research and stuff. Your co-founder, Abby.
Yeah.
You met while travelling, right?
Yeah. So 2023, so it's not even that long ago. We only actually launched last year. We both met in Bali, both from Liverpool, and we had a mutual friend who was still in the UK but was like, you both need to meet because you're both in Bali. She'd actually been there since Feb. I got there in the August, so she'd been there a good few months. And
were you both solo travelling?
Yeah. We both just broke up with boyfriends, both was living in London and ended up in Bali. Abby had actually never even travelled on her own before that trip. So I went as well, kind of on a whim, going to sort my life out in Bali or find myself, as they say. And yeah, I think I've been there for maybe 6 days, and we went for dinner, a proper blind date, don't know this person. We'd messaged a little bit on Instagram after a mate had introduced us. And yeah, we went for dinner and it was just mad. We had all of these synchronicities, all of these things in common. I had a therapist and she'd also been working with that therapist. I'd been on some meditation courses, she'd also been on them. My sister's got coffee shops and she was like, I go to that coffee shop with my mum every week. And I was just this is it was we'd known each other for years from that dinner. And then I ended up staying in Bali for 4 months rather than 4 weeks.
You could have had a situation on your hands where you went to meet this girl and it was some murderer.
Yeah.
It was the Bali Files on Netflix.
That's what it's like in Bali though. I feel it is such a transitional place. People are on their way somewhere, or you just go to get away from normality, as it is a very, it doesn't feel like real life when you're there. It's beautiful, but you are doing the work while you're there. So we went newly single, both of us, and just really connected on that. And we're both one of 5. So I've got 4 siblings, so is she, and Abby's also a twin as well. And all of our siblings have got children, and we're the mad aunties that have now gone to Bali with no sort of plan, no business to even probably just go there, but we went. And now when you in hindsight, you just see how it was all just meant to be because of what we've created together.
That's amazing. So you left Bali, came back to the UK.
Yeah.
How does that then look in terms of your friendship and thinking up this idea? Because I've got here that by the end of January only of last year, you did a business course and a healing coaching course together.
Yeah.
And then by the April, you'd already launched.
We'd launched,
this. Yeah. So what was that kind of period between leaving Bali to deciding, okay, let's turn this into something?
Yeah, so when I left Bali, Abby also came home as well, just for a week. And I feel like when we was on that flight on the way home and we was getting so many synchronicities, like we had like, or not even synchronicities, just like, you know, you just know you're doing the right thing. Then did a business course together and online. So there was like a 7-8 hour time difference to Bali.
And what was the motivation behind doing the business course?
So I had a business at the time, and so did Abby. She had a swimwear line, and I had a similar business with my sisters where I was holding retreats and doing online coaching for women, helping them with confidence, self-esteem, and, you know, all things like that. So it was more to boost our businesses, to understand like how to actually do business in 2024, like having an online business. So it was not to do something together. We were doing it together, but more as like an accountability partner. And then we did a healing course, which really brought up like so much for us individually, but we was going through it together. So because we'd had the same coaches and therapists, I do think we really spoke the same language. So it was like when something would come up for me to do with like inner child, and really our teenage years was both coming up for us on this course, and we just got through it together. I think that is also like the solid foundations of our business. Like even though we have only known each other since 2023, which doesn't seem that long at all, we're like sisters. Like we can really just like share and speak, and, you know, just not have any sort of like hidden things between us, because going into businesses with someone is, you know, I've done that before, and it's hard, especially when you can't just say how you feel. So I think because we did them courses and the foundations were there, it's magic what we can create together, and our bond is really, really strong.
So at what moment did you then decide, okay, there's a platform that women need, we can be the ones to give them this?
It was actually Abby. So Abby was going through a breakup in Bali, and my business was like, I was doing retreats but not really earning money. Like I would basically do a retreat, and by the time I'd sold the tickets and had the costs like in front of me, like I'd earned nothing, and I was just like, what the hell am I doing? So Abby was going through a breakup. I was also just a bit like, and she had a taxi ride of like 2-3 hours long where she had no phone, no Wi-Fi. Like she's in the back of this taxi. Funnily enough, she had like a bag from one of her swimwear orders, and she's like writing on this bag. She's writing hair, she's writing, you know, all of like thoughts and feelings about her breakup. And I'm also at home like in turmoil, like what is this business? But just knowing that I really wanted to help women. And once she got signal, she reminded me that a couple of months earlier, because I did used to have a podcast, I'd invited her on, and she was just like, no, like, and say what? So then we connected after this journey that she'd been on, and it was like, we need to do this. We need to use, you know, our experience as women in our 30s who have been through so many different things, but we've come out the other side, and we need to share this with other women, basically. So that's where it initially came from, but it's pivoted a lot since
then. It has, because obviously you started off the page as a quote page, right?
Yeah.
So what then possessed you to turn it into what it is now? Or was it never really intended to be a business? It was more just let's just try and help, and if it goes that way, great. If it doesn't, then...
It was never intention for it to be what it is now, in terms of in our consciousness thinking, right, this is what we're creating. But I do think, and you know, we're both very spiritual people, that all along we was using our intuition and just following our intuition and creating exactly what we wish existed, even if we weren't sitting down and doing like a whole business plan about it. But we've both got past business experience, and yes, it started as a quote page, almost like a creative outlet as such, and we went viral after a couple of days, and up until this day we go viral multiple times a week. It's grown into what I can only put into words now as like the biggest communities of women that no matter what, whether you're 31 or you're just about to leave your 30s and you're 39, that we all just get it. Like we're all, you know, aligned in the way that we think and feel, and it's really magic what we've created. And there's so many big plans for it now that we acknowledge that it is a huge business.
And when you first started doing the quotes and that side of things, like that, was that just off experience and intuition, or did you feel like you had to really study like women behaviours? And
no, it was so innocent. It was thoughts and feelings going through a breakup. You know, we actually have only really shown showed ourselves on the page like quite recently. Before then we would use vaults, content vaults and that sort of thing. So it was never like this is what we're going to do and this is ours and we're going to be like out there. It was actually just a purely innocent, like creative outlet of like thoughts and feelings of a woman in her 30s going through this breakup and business not going exactly how we would want by that age, and then just 700,000 women like found us quickly.
It is mad how quickly you've scaled that up. How does that feel to have all these females basically utilising your coping mechanisms and navigating their life using your experience, I guess?
I think that's what we are focusing now on, because now we do feel like we do have a responsibility to obviously, if you're connecting with the thoughts and the feelings that we were sharing, then now Abby and I have come out the other side and we feel great, and we've been fortunate to be able to afford coaches, therapy, go on retreats, whatever it is that we wanted to do that would help us. We now feel a responsibility to provide that for the women. So that's exactly what we're doing.
Has there ever been a moment where I suppose you've looked, like zoomed out and thought, okay, we need to actually tread a bit carefully now because people are really taking everything fairly like literal?
Yeah. I wouldn't say so. We connect a lot with the women, in DMs, and that's why we also knew early on that we wanted an app, because we was speaking with women in DMs, obviously one-on-one, but we've seen what such like beauty can come from two women. Like we've got obviously our friendship, but we've also got, a business and we're business partners and we've created this. So it's like, if we wasn't open to that dinner, where would we both be now? And we was, in our 30s, I suppose, are you really looking for new friendships in your 30s? So now we feel like we really wanted the women to be able to speak to each other but also meet each other. So that's what we're facilitating now, like ways in which, like on our app, there's a huge group chat, there is all different conversation spaces where if you're navigating dating or pregnancy or want to get into, like a new hobby, like there's a space for you to speak about that with other women in their 30s in there. So a lot of the app content is actually them speaking to each other rather than, us being in there every single day. Like it's incredible how much engagement actually goes on in our app. We're like blown away. It only launched in August, but we're so proud of it, and now we're also creating a lot more in-person events.
Yeah, I'd love to touch on the in-person bits actually. What was the turning point from going from quotes to bringing that to real life?
I think the turning point was how flooded our DMs are, and we want to obviously speak to all of the women, help them, support them, but then that is actually like a full-time job. And being a coach in the past, like you cannot coach people in the DMs. You don't know what is also going on in their life. So we knew that we wanted to create a space for them to meet each other, whether that be to make friends or it could end up a business partnership like it was for Abby and I. And I think just as it grew and we would have them conversations, because everything that we've created, even though, we are our own target market as such, because we are them women in their 30s that don't have the conventional things Abby and I don't have. We're not in relationships. We're both, newly single, and we don't have a mortgage. We're thinking we might go move some, we are free to do that. So I think the turning point was knowing that the women didn't feel the same as us, because we were speaking to so many of them. So we was like, okay, well, we don't want the things that you don't have to determine how happy, you are, or how you're living your life like right now. So we just knew that we had so much more to give. We was like, we can't just help them feel their feelings, and then like almost if you're helping someone feel like that's how I feel, then you're, what then they might feel more sad. So we were like, okay, now we need to be able to actually provide, the app has got meditations on there, it's got downloadable like journaling prompts and resources, so there's that, but obviously in person is so much more like our focus right now.
So with the in-person events, I saw that sold out almost immediately. Talk me through the landscape of like how one of these events I suppose goes from start to finish, because you don't have like event background, anything like that.
I do have an event background, to be fair. I did events in uni in Manchester, so I feel like events is definitely where I thrive. I do love organising an event, hosting an event, But this was like organising our wedding. Like, this is not an event that I have ever organised for. It could take a year, like if you really wanted to. So we did our first one in February, and it was in London. 150 women flew from Scotland just for the day. Women flew from America just to come all over. Like, our community is worldwide. So it was a completely sold out event, and yeah, it is not like anything I've organised before. It's 3-course brunch, pre-orders, table, like seating. It is literally like what I can only imagine organising your wedding must be like. Shows, panellists, just the most incredible goodie bag. Everything that we thought of from the moment that you arrive is like an immersive experience. And, you know, it's not just like a 1-hour brunch, it's a 7-hour event, but you feel like you're there for maybe, 90 minutes or something. It's what probably people go to a 7-day long retreat for. You can get in a 7-hour Her 30s event on a Sunday afternoon in
Have you had
Mayfair.
any feedback from anyone saying that they've had a similar experience now to you and Abby, where they've like sat down at this event and met someone that they want to now start a business with? And
yeah, so they was creating group chats like at the event. We had a call with, I think, 2 or 3 women who were there, like from businesses that we connected with, and they were like, oh yeah, I went for brunch with my table last week. It was, so many connections. Even friends of Abby and ours, they can't believe how many friends like they met, even though they were there with us. So it was exactly what we could have hoped for. It exceeded all our expectations to the point where as soon as it was over and we were well again, because it actually was sick for like a week after, because I think our energy was just zapped, we booked it again. So it's happening in about 6 weeks. On the 14th of December, same venue, Mistress in Mayfair, incredible venue. You couldn't have anything more on brand. It's all red, all
we had
velvet.
our Christmas party.
Did
there
you?
last year, yeah.
So we're doing it again. I've just got a shiver up my spine because it actually is not easy, but it's going to be incredible.
That was Feb, your first event, right?
Mm-hmm.
August hits. Mm-hmm. You now launch this app.
Yeah.
You don't have app experience. No investors.
No.
How the bloody hell have you then launched this whole community platform?
Yeah, I want to say like I have an answer like for that, but I honestly just think it's like us creating exactly what we wish existed, but also what we knew would help the women. So we did our research, we created an app on a platform that we had used before, and it was not easy. We're not tech girlies like at all, and even now we're like, what have we done? Like, are we now women in tech, or like are we still like a community built? Like, what are we? But yeah, we launched it 1st of August here in Manchester. We hired like a coffee truck and did like a pop-up coffee shop outside Selfridges. So like you come to the coffee truck, you get a free coffee as long as you downloaded the app. So it was amazing.
Did you have like a team that built the app out for you? How did that look?
No. I built the app out, but I can't take like, loads of credit for it. Because it was like the Shopify equivalent of like if you want to build an e-commerce store, we use that, but for community apps. One day we will definitely have our own app. And when I say one day, like hopefully 2026, we will build out our own app from, every single detail of what we would like. But right now it has, completed what we wished for, which was a space for them to be able to talk and share, and also a space for us to be able to house like resources and anything that she might need. So it's perfect for what we need right now, but eventually we will build an app and it won't be me doing it.
And if you did it yourself, how much did it cost to...
I could only say the thing of the cost of the actual app, but the hours that we've put in, God. Apps can go anything from like 100k up, like if you want a good app. But as I said, we've used a platform like the equivalent of like a Shopify, where obviously they're a lot more cost effective because you're basically using a template rather than building something from scratch with like coding and stuff. So yeah, it's not
because you made the app free.
Yeah.
So what was the, I suppose, I don't know what the word is behind that, like what spurred you on to not make it like a purchasable subscription?
Yeah, so obviously we can help them feel their feelings, as I said before, but if we are not helping them in any way change that feeling, because there's nothing wrong with being sad, and there's nothing wrong with like wishing that you had a baby or that you was married or whatever it be, but if we wasn't then helping them change the way that they feel from like an empowered and an inspirational place, then we didn't feel like what our purpose with Her 30s was being fulfilled. So the app is free to download, and we will introduce, you know, like a subscription, which we are working on now, but everything that you kind of see on there now, we wanted it to be as accessible for the women as possible, and we can monetize in other ways.
So with the app?
So with our app, you can actually find a therapist, a coach. Like, we really want it to be that place where, you know, if you're struggling with fertility, if you are struggling with, you know, your mental health, anything at all, that you can go into the app and they are vetted, like professionals that either Abby and I have met or have worked with. We really wanted it to be that place, like, yeah, you can meet other women who feel the same as you. So obviously you could then form a friendship. You can maybe go on a holiday with them. We want it to be that app that whatever you need as a woman in your 30s, you know, it's there in that app in your pocket. Like I said, it can be finding friends. There's a whole space on there for business as well. So women are asking each other, you know, if there's any opportunities, women are sharing opportunities. You can ask for CV advice. But something that we're really proud of is the directory in there. So as I've said so many times on this podcast, but Abby and I have done coaching and therapy, and it's like a minefield trying to find somebody. To be fair, what do you do? Just search on Instagram. So we wanted to, you know, put those professionals that have really helped us, because we do get asked, you know, all the time, what coaching have you done, what courses have you done? And now, you know, that's all in the app as well. So it's a full 360 experience. If you want to go to an event, find a therapist, but also chat to someone, you can do it all in there.
I've got to ask, because AI is taking over the whole bloody world at the moment.
Yeah.
You can't have an AI therapist, really. Like, you're never going to have that one-to-one.
No.
Like, the robot has not lived the life that a therapist can necessarily help you with. But equally, if your platform becomes too big, how do you then navigate that vetting process of finding really good therapists within the app?
I mean, that's a great question. And I suppose we would never let a robot choose who goes on there. That's for sure. Or we would never recommend that you get coached by your AI. Abby and I have had this conversation so many times about how, like, AI is such an enabler. It thinks every idea that you say is a great one, no matter what. Like, you have...
It's dangerous.
Yeah. So it will never get to, you know, that point. This is human interaction. This is the whole reason why we're doing Her 30s, for women to find other women that feel the same. Then, you know, whether that be go to an event or whatever comes from it. So, you know, there is no space for AI in our app, that's for sure. But I think, in answer to your question as well, it's important that there are coaches and therapists being added on there, because just the one that Abby and I, you know, shared might not be everyone's cup of tea. There's also men that Abby and I have worked with where some women might not want to work with men. So I suppose we will always be working with new women to be able to then recommend them to the women, because we would want it to be a personal experience. And I suppose as our team and our company grows, then we will also onboard and, you know, take the opinions of women that actually do work with us. So it can grow naturally in that way and organically.
How many app downloads have you had so far?
We've got 5,000 active users, which is really, you know,
all organically.
So and active users is something which is, you know, that's what you are looking for, people that are actively using your app daily, not just downloaded it. So we're really proud that we've got 5,000 women that actually are in there daily. But yeah, it's still, you know, it's a whole new side of the business. Like, we don't then want our platforms such as like social media or our email to not withstand, because we've now got this app, but it's a whole new audience as such, a whole new different way of posting and content. So it's one of them things that, you know, we don't do ads. We've never done an ad. Everything that we do is organic. So we're not just trying to get app downloads. We are wanting the women to come in and actually do the meditations and actually, you know, speak to each other. So it's you know, our biggest following is on social media, but when it comes to the app, it's growing slowly but surely. Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. But that obviously possesses me to ask, how are you actually making money now?
So we make money through advertising, we make money through our events, and yeah, mostly right now we're still a small team, so our outgoings are not huge. I mean, if we could just, you know, turn on a money tab, we would hire for sure, because there is, I mean, even just someone to do your comments and DMs, like, it is no joke having like 700,000 followers.
Okay, so you two manage all of the responses?
We have 2 team members right now, yeah. But actually, to be fair, that they work on other things, not the responses. So yeah, it's Abby and I in there. They are in there as well, but so we're a small team of 4, and we kind of all, you know, work on all the events, all the partnerships, all of the, well, everything, projects that we've got going on.
And what made you start hiring, I guess? When did you know, okay, we actually need more than just us two now?
Funnily enough, our 2 team members were actually followers of ours. So they reached out to us saying, is, you know, there any way, like, we still get it now, like, this platform's really like helped me or really saved me, you know, and we still get DMs like that now. And it just so happened, like, at that time we was like, okay, well, let's get on a call. So it happened like that. Like, it wasn't like we had like a job ad out there. We've put on our story, you know, a outreach a few times, but it was so organic, and they are honestly the best. They're really, we wouldn't be able to do it without them, that's for sure.
And have you got to a point now where you have like investors and stuff like that approaching to come on board?
No, we don't. Not that I'm aware of. But I feel like right now it's one of them where, you know, we only launched last year, and our first year was definitely focused on Abby and I's healing. You know, like, we was going through things, so it was a creative outlet. And yes, we both do have business background, but this year has been when it's, okay, what are we creating here? Like, what is our plan? Like, where is this going? So to bring on like an investor like right now is, you know, it's not something that we've even considered. I don't know if it ever will be. We're not against it, like, at all, but who better to like lead this company than 2 women who, you know, are in their 30s, and of course we won't be forever, but yeah, it just feels like it's our baby, like, right now. And I don't even know if we would consider, don't know, I'll have to speak to Abby about that.
So I mean, I guess you've consciously picked power over profit to date. Yeah. And that's been really important.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of longevity in doing it that way. You know, we are not shy for opportunities to post somebody's eye cream who obviously really want to target women in their 30s that are starting to, you know, think of wrinkles and wellness products. And, you know, we get opportunities like that all the time. But for us, we knew early on that we didn't want it to be a page that was, you know, it's not a wellness page. If anything, what's that quote? Like, don't judge a book by its cover. Like, Her 30s is very deep. She looks so good and she's so aesthetic, and that is all down to Abby. She's got such a amazing eye for detail, and everything that you see creatively of Her 30s is her side of the business. But we never wanted it to be like an influencer page, and, you know, she's not. She's going to be something that we can actually pass on to our nieces or children. Like, it's a big company, you know, and she's growing day by day. Like, the calls that we have now are with like businesses and brands that I once, you know, could have only dreamed of. So we've done it in such like a intentional way that it's not been for profit, in terms of like just doing like a social media collab or just like launching an app and like throwing a subscription on there. It's we've got a greater plan.
Going back to, obviously we've been mentioning Abby quite a lot. Maintaining that friendship in business, I think for anyone it can be tough. How do you, I suppose, while you're inside this like pressure cooker of running a company, how do you make sure that your friendship isn't impacted in like a negative way when you're, I don't know, highly stressed and all of that?
We've actually joked about this recently, where it will be like one week I'm so stressed and then she's not, and then the next week she is and I'm not. So we really do balance each other out in that way, and I think we're really there for each other when, you know, does hit the fan like regularly, and we're like, oh my god, you know, how are we going to get through this? And I think based on our foundations of, you know, before we even met, the inner work that we'd done with the same coaches and therapists, as I said before, so very much like we've been on kind of simultaneous journeys but separately, and then the coaching courses that we did together, I think we've worked very well together. We're very opposite, you know, as well, in terms of our roles. So I trust her fully with her side of the business. I wouldn't even want to put my 2 pence in, because I don't know, like, I don't have an eye for detail. You know, I can appreciate that like our branding is unbelievable, and I can appreciate that like how she makes our Instagram and like everything look. I'm like, that's so good, like it looks so good. But I am more, I was going to say more behind the scenes, but I'm sat here on a podcast, so clearly I'm not behind the scenes. But I am more, you know, to do with the app and like to do with the like how we're developing and growing this business on a daily scale.
Do you ever, like either of you, have an underlying fear of like, what if one of us just wants to walk away?
No, we've never actually had that conversation, to be fair. I mean, we've had this chat where we're like, our bond and what we create together, we're like, you know, you can have a day where like we might not speak because we're like busy.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back together and share how we was feeling. And then we can just create something or solve something. But the fact that we've came back together, where I might have been pondering or thinking of something overnight or thinking, God, how are we going to do that? And then it just so happened she was also feeling that way. And then we come back together next morning, then it's resolved, but in the best way. I've been in businesses before where, you know, the communication is not there and or there's not even a place for it, where there's so much place for that in our business, even with our team. You know, we want them to be able to, like, it's not a conventional business where you need to go to like HR or Harbour on something for weeks and months. Like, just say it, just bring it to the call, otherwise we can all feel it.
Yeah.
And we do that with our friendship as well. So we won't start work if there's something that we need to speak about, even if it's just like about a guy or something. You know, we'll be like, right, let's connect as friends, and then we'll start working a bit.
So just to hone in a bit more on the business model.
Yeah.
When was that first moment that you were like, okay, we can actually generate serious money from this?
Probably when we went viral, we were like, okay, this is reaching a lot of women. And as I said before, like from a coaching background, and then Abby was still in Bali at the time. So Abby only came back from Bali this year. So the first like half of the business we was doing like long distance, like a relationship, but basically long distance. You know, she's there and we can do like amazing retreats and things there. So like the ideas of how it could be monetized were coming from a pure like place, but we did realize when, again, I hate to say like speaking in the DMs, but that is what has shaped a lot of it, because you're speaking directly to a woman that has found you and is, you know, they've reached out to us in terms of something that they've seen that they relate to. So then we've, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, we are steering this business and leading it, especially from where we are now. Like, we feel obviously so good about ourselves, and we don't let the fact that we don't have all of these things hold us back. But I guess, yeah, like when it started growing and we started speaking to women in the DMs, we realised, you know, we wanted to create something which obviously does come to monetizing.
And I suppose you touched on before about the advertising side of it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like brands are in tune and really understand the realities of women in their 30s, or are they just like post this mask?
Brands are really out of touch to women in their 30s, and I think that's what we realised early on too. We almost feel like, yes, we have a responsibility to our audience, which is, you know, hundreds of thousands of women that feel like that. But we also now have a responsibility to redefine what it means to be a woman in your 30s, because we don't have to feel that pressure from other people. Yes, sometimes it's, you know, from family and things as well, but there's only so much that you can allow somebody else's expectation of you to rule your life. So we feel like we've got multiple responsibilities, but the two main ones would be also educating brands on who women in their 30s actually are in 2025. Like my mum, I think Abby's mum as well, like I think Abby's mum had 5 kids by this age. Like my mum had just had me, so she had 4 and was going to go on to have another. You know, she'd been married since she was 19, even my elder sisters. So I'm just like, it's our responsibility, one, to help the women, but also society has got it very wrong. You know, that, well, just like I was saying, like women didn't even really have businesses and stuff, what, like 50 years ago. Now that we do have this opportunity and do have a voice and do have, you know, all of this choice, let's use it. And I think that's a big responsibility of ours, which, you know, when we're not in the DMs and talking to women and organising events, we do really see, okay, what we've created is also changing culture. It is changing how brands or the world actually thinks of women in their 30s and beyond as well, because a lot of women do message us like, I feel like this and I'm in my 40s or 50s. You know, there was women at our event that was in their 20s and 40s. So yeah, we are her 30s, but if you relate to what we post and you want to, you know, change how you feel, but from a place of empowerment, then we are the community for you. Just so happens we're in our 30s, and we do feel like them pressures hit home or really get strong when you do then enter your 30s.
Yeah, I mean, what do you find is the most common issue like women in their 30s are really facing, like collectively?
Yeah.
Because I was saying on the podcast before this, I've hit 30 and I feel like, oh my God, should I think about children now? It was on the topic of like comparison.
Okay, yeah.
And I was saying I'm really good in business that I don't compare. Like I've really mastered not looking at other agencies because I know what we deliver is great.
Yeah.
But when it comes to kids, marriage, all of that, I feel like I really compare to all of my friends that are all there with it. And even though I have a partner and I'm sure that will eventually come, it is kind of like, okay, well, I'm 30 now, so can you propose? But I don't want to put that pressure on him.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it would be interesting to know what.
Well, where do you think that expectation or that has come from for you?
No, I think it's just from where everyone around me has that. My mum had me when she was 26, was married by 25. But I've never looked at that and thought, that needs to be me. I just think, I'll be on my own path. But now I've hit 30 and you do still have, like, my nan is very much like, when are you going to have children? So, I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know where the pressure comes from. I think maybe because my friends are just on that natural path now.
Yeah. Well, it's society, isn't it? And it is such a, like, you can't help but have them expectations, like, on us, even if it's done from such a nice place. Like when people, you know, say to me, like, will you have children? I'm like, I'm not sure. And they're like, but you'd be such a good mom. And I'm like, it's a compliment, but it's also like, okay, what do I now say, you know, to that? So that's like an expectation or planting the seed of a pressure, even though it's not been in a judgy way. So I think, you know, in answer to your question of like, what do they most collectively feel as like their main pain point out is being single in your 30s, because I think society makes it mean something that it's not. So you could be in a relationship and, you know, people ask you like when you're going to have a baby or when you're getting married, but there is nothing I think that compares to almost like the unspoken judgment of being a woman in her 30s that actually is single, because it's almost like you're then maybe labelled as like there must be something wrong with you, because like how are you not in a relationship, you're in your 30s, when, you know, I think it's the easiest thing in the world to get into a relationship. Like, you know, Abby and I say it all the time, like if you do want to get into a relationship, now I know that might be a little bit controversial to say that it's easy to get in a relationship, but if you're actively dating and, you know, you're intentionally like on apps and things, like I do feel like if we're showing up like and having the conversations that, yeah, you might have to go on like a few dates and like there is such a thing as dating fatigue for sure, but there is no judgment that comes from like, okay, well, why are you single, you know? And you're just like, what question? I've actually just got out of like 5-year long stint, like I want to be single, you know, for a bit.
Yeah,
I am 35, but there's like, I'm not in a rush.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's that is the one that probably stings the most. And if you're not, I don't want to say headstrong, if you're not self-aware, which, you know, I mean, it's took me 5 years of coaching, therapy, all the things, you know, constantly still now, like learning new things about myself now that I'm single, you know, and about myself in a relationship. And I think it's nothing more that stings than when people judge you for being single in your 30s, because it's like an unspoken, like you can just feel it.
Expectations. Yeah. I think I'm even younger now as well. Like I was in an 8-year relationship. I came out of that relationship 27. I got to like 25 and I knew he wasn't the right one for me, but I was like, oh, but I'm 25. Like even saying that now, I'm like, 25 is so young, I had the mentality of, what if there's like everyone's taken now, so if I leave this relationship there's going to be no one left for me. Then I get to 26 and I'm like, oh well, game over now. Like my mum was married at this point, like life's over, I can't leave. And then obviously time progressed and I was like, no, this isn't my person, I actually do need to leave the relationship. But there was that fear, even though I wasn't happy in that relationship, there was such a fear of, am I going to find anyone else? Which is crazy when you say it out loud, but it held me back for so long.
Well, there's also like what other people will say, you know, and like, or what even your partner might be saying. I think it's you know, there's so many pressures, like you just said. Like I've got a friend that also just got married, so then it's like everyone's been asking when she's going to get married, and now that she's married it's like, when you're going to have a baby, and so it kind of never ends. So that's why Abby and I are so passionate about doing the inner work and like being self-aware, because it's noisy like on social media, or like just even, you know, you go to a family party and you see like some aunties and cousins that you haven't seen for ages and they're like, oh, how's so and so, oh, we've broke up, you know, and so it just goes on and on no matter where you go. It's like a conversation that follows a woman in her 30s into every single room, even when it's not, you know, coming from a place of judgment, but that's what we first went viral over as well, you know, being single in your 30s and what that actually means, or what the world makes it mean more so.
It's a lot harder, I think, as well when you're 30 in this generation, listening to the experiences of 55, 60-year-olds like my mum that was 30 in a completely different time to us. Like, there wasn't social media. Like, you expect to just meet this one human and they're your person for the rest of your life, and actually that's not reality now because there's so many external factors. Like, sorry that you couldn't see that your man was liking other women's posts and stuff like that back in your day, but that's what we have to deal with now. So you shouldn't be expected to stand for it just because you didn't have that luxury.
It's a different world. Like, even what I was talking about before when it comes to like even just the choices we have now, like my mum, I don't think she even thought that she could start a business, you know, like she got married at 19, like it was just the done thing to do. So we're talking about that, and why we also feel like this is our responsibility because we've grown so much and quickly, is like we're the first decade that actually does have more choice and are living differently, because my two elder sisters did the conventional thing and a lot of like their friends, you know, did as well, pretty much all, to be fair. So it's almost like we need to use our platform to show that we do have a choice. And I just want to say, like, Her 30s is not against any of those things, like, at all. Like, we're not a feminist movement like against men. Like, we love men, we love learning about ourselves, and if we, you know, do have any sort of like things to say about men, we know that it's something within us, like based on a past experience. Like, who can say something about all men? And we've been through our fair share of things where, like, sometimes I'm like, God, my opinion on men is so good, even though all these things I've been through. So it always just comes back down to like your self-awareness and your how much inner work you've actually done to learn about yourself. And I think that's what we do feel like is our responsibility, to show the women that our generation is different. Not just did we grow up with phones, like they didn't even exist then. We was the generation where Instagram launched, and then it's like we're getting validation from likes, and then all this photo editing and filters came around, you know, and then we're also comparing ourselves to influencers. So like, obviously you have a business in influencers, and it's changed so much, changed all the time, doesn't it? But I do think you can easily compare yourself to influencers, whether they be younger or older, but they've got a gorgeous house, maybe like 2 children, and they're married, but we don't know what's going on in anyone's, you know, life behind obviously Instagram. So I think also intentionally like following people that aren't allowing you to compare yourself. A lot of influencers, if not, well, all of them, and celebrities, their accounts are public. So I intentionally like follow, and we do share this also with the women. You can do all the inner work in the world, but then if you're going to go on Instagram and then see a highlight reel, you know, as they say, of 10 influencers and celebrities that have maybe like bounced back after a baby, like it's gonna like affect anybody's kind of like self-esteem and mental health. So comparison is huge in your 30s. I mean, it's huge for women anyway. We're all being compared to each other, but Her 30s is you know, doesn't have a place for that at all.
Towards the end of each podcast, we do things I wish I knew. And I feel like this will be a really good one.
Okay.
If you could talk to your younger self, what are you telling her?
How old, what age are we thinking?
I feel like let's go, normally everyone's like a kid, but I think with this, let's go for like, 18. Maybe 18.
Yeah. Okay. So I would tell her, which is funny because we've just been speaking about comparison. I would tell her to, and I actually said this to someone the other day who was following us, but you know, I was a party girl. Like, I went to uni here in Manchester, and I can't even remember like being 18, to be fair, because you know what it's like when you're a student. But I would tell her, all of your disposable or any income that you've got, whether it be a student loan, go and get to know yourself. And I feel like a little bit of a broken record because I keep talking about inner work and therapy and coaching, and a lot of people don't even believe in it, but it's so important to know who you are. And I spent from my 18, you know, birthday till I was 30 really just doing what I thought was for fun, which is being a social butterfly, like getting all different treatments and aesthetics. And like, I used to dye my hair blonde, I have like long hair extensions. Like, what I thought was beautiful is, or like what maybe like social media told me was beautiful, I would try and change everything about myself. So, you know, now I feel like for the first time I'm like me, and I'm 35, which is fine, but I definitely could have been doing this at 25. In a long-worded answer, I would say to stop comparing yourself to others and really just get to know yourself, because it's honestly, you can just feel so lost. And I think if anyone is listening to this who does feel lost, or if anyone's listening to this who doesn't really know who they are, it's never too late to get to know, you know, yourself. As cheesy as that sounds, like there is nothing worse than not knowing what you even find for fun, what you want to do with your life. Like I stayed in a job, in a career 7 years too long than I should have. But a bit like what you were saying before, I was like, I can't leave this career now. Like I've been in it for 7 years and I'm going to be 30 next year. What else would I do? And it's like in hindsight, isn't it, where you can say like, oh, if only I'd have done that 5 years earlier. And it's just never too late. But I would honestly just get to know myself at 18 because I was a little lost girl comparing myself to others and then making choices that were not mine.
I'm going to do some quick fire questions. If you don't want to answer them, just say none of your business.
Okay,
that's the game.
Okay, it's fun.
One thing you thought you'd have figured out by 30 but still haven't.
Love, relationships.
What's something women secretly do more than they admit?
Self-pleasure.
Have you ever posted something knowing it would cause chaos in group chats worldwide?
Worldwide? No.
Would you ever sell if the number was life-changing?
Sell Her 30s? No, I honestly feel like we've got the power between the both of us to create life-changing, lives for ourselves on our own.
Are you scared that one day you will no longer be relatable enough to lead this?
No, because who better to talk about Her 30s than someone who's completed it?
True. Is there a topic you silently avoid because you're scared of what the internet might do with your honesty?
I think like aesthetics and stuff, yeah. Because as much as I want to be like, natural and I've definitely been on that journey, as I just said, but like I probably still will get a little bit of lip filler or a little bit of Botox. I mean, I don't know. I might be eating my words in like 2 years. This is definitely not a quick fire answer, but I think that's the topic where I'm like, it's kind of none of my business what anyone wants to do, but I also want everyone to just like love who they are, but I also then still get a bit of Botox. So it's so like, it just makes sense.
Do you think female friendships get harder or easier in your 30s?
Easier.
What's one insecurity you did not expect to have at this age?
I feel like my biggest insecurity is just always my body, so I'm just up and down with it,
I feel like everyone
can
relate to that. Have you ever stayed friends with someone you've actually outgrown just out of guilt?
No, not out of guilt.
Would you rather never fall in love or never achieve financial freedom?
Never fall in love.
How long have you been single?
4 months.
Oh, okay. New.
No.
You'll change your mind. No, I actually don't think you will.
Do you know what? Where that was coming from? Because it's like, I've been in long relationships.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, so for the first time, I'm like, I feel like I could just be single.
Forever.
Yeah. And I'm like, I have so much like love for like my nephew and obviously Abby and my family that I was presuming you mean romantic love.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, there's a few women that I follow that are like in their 40s and they've got like such a purpose-driven business and
so happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, so I answered that. Yeah, I'm just like, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, no, I do agree. Have you ever had a DM that made you think this is why I do this?
Oh my God, yeah. Every single day. That's like I feel like I've basically answered that a lot though, haven't I? It's what we do all of it for, yeah.
And another DM that made you think I might delete everything and disappear?
Not on Her 30s, but probably on my own, yeah.
Who's the most famous person in your DMs or following you that genuinely shocked you?
Rochelle Humes just shares our stuff sometimes on her story. Yeah, I love her. So I screenshot that and like sent it to like everyone I know. I was like, what the hell, Rochelle Humes has shared our quote. So I don't know if she follows us, but if you don't, please do.
I bet there's loads of other people that have shared.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to miss it when they just share the story without tagging, isn't it?
Yeah, so true. But that one, I'm like a fangirl of Rochelle.
She is great.
She is
really great. Thank you so much
for
coming on. Do you want to say kind of where everyone can follow?
So you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Threads. We are Her.30s, and 30s is spelt not like 3OS, it's 30s. And yeah, we hope to, if this has resonated, just to see you in person at one of our events.
Amazing.
Thank you
so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Bishness As Usual. If you enjoyed the episode, please make sure to follow, subscribe and leave a rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes will drop every Monday, so until then, stay inspired and we'll get back down to Bishness next week.